Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about felony murder. This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Well, if there were one thing that there's a lot of legal stories about, it's murder. But I'm not sure that I've ever heard it called felony murder. Isn't every murder a felony?
Right, yes, absolutely. Every murder is a felony. And, there are degrees of murder. So you have first-degree murder, which always has the possibility of a sentence that is life without parole, or in some states, the death penalty. And so first-degree murder is your most serious murder. And then there is another little category of murder beyond first degree that's felony murder, and it has the same penalty. Shocking.
So what makes something a felony murder?
Well, it's just a murder that occurs as a result of a felony crime. So, for instance, like armed robbery. If you have, like a classic example would be a group of people going into a bank. They're going to rob the bank and a teller gets shot. Now, all of those individuals are on the hook for the felony, that is the bank robbery, but they're also on the hook for a felony murder, including the getaway driver. So they all should anticipate that, in committing this very dangerous crime where they've all armed themselves, that there is a possibility someone might get shot and killed. And so that intent to kill, that premeditation and that malice that a first-degree murder conviction requires is imputed on them because they committed this crime with this, resulting death. And so they're on the hook the same as they would be just for a first-degree murder where you go out and, I hate that person, I'm going to lie in wait and when they come in my path, I'm going to shoot them dead. And so this type of crime, it carries that same penalty.
So that's a scenario where a bunch of people have decided they're going to commit a crime, a robbery. How close or far away from this crime counts as being a part of the crime? Because there might be people that, back home that knew about it or something like that. Does that count too?
Not in most states. So there are 11 states in the United States that do allow this attenuated involvement to put a person on the hook for the felony murder as well. For example, in Indiana, there was a case where a gentleman had a group of people that were partying at his house. He passed out and went to sleep. He was woke up. They asked, "Can we take your keys?" And a group of people left. He gave them permission to take his car, and they left and committed a felony where someone was killed. I believe they broke into someone's house, and the homeowner ended up being the victim of murder, basically, by those individuals breaking into the house. Now, that person in Indiana was on the hook for a felony murder charge, and he was facing, the possibility of a life sentence, and was put in a situation where if he was convicted, he was going to be a murderer.
It does not seem fair, does it?
No, and what's even more concerning, how could anybody possibly know this is the law in their state, is when an individual or group of individuals are involved in, say, a burglary, again, into breaking into someone's home, and the homeowner shoots one of the co-defendants, one of the people that were breaking into the home, killing the other person that's involved in the crime. All of a sudden, because that member that was helping them break into the house is now dead, they're all on the hook for a felony murder case or felony murder charge where they could face the death penalty.
That really is a stretch, it seems like. I mean, the person who committed the murder wasn't even part of the crime at all, but our person that we're talking about here was just sort of standing in this vicinity. Is that right?
Well, they were involved in breaking in the house. The victim of the murder was one of the co-defendants, so to speak, and the homeowner shot the co-defendant, and now the other 3 individuals who helped break in the house are facing a felony murder charge with a death penalty on the table.
Wow. So you say this is not the case, not the law in every state. So what exactly is the law in Wyoming?
Well, Wyoming is more of your classic felony murder type of statute where it involves either the individual who shot the person during the commission of the felony or an accomplice. And so it has been since 1995 since the Wyoming Supreme Court had to look at this. But, that accomplice was on the hook for felony murder, even though they didn't pull the trigger, they didn't kill the individual, but because they were involved in a robbery with the gunman, they have the same liability, that is the same possibility of a sentence with a life sentence or potentially a death penalty sentence, even though they didn't ever kill someone themselves. They were just an accomplice in a felony.
So they could end up with a sentence that is decades long for this. Is that how it works?
Yeah, they can end up in prison for life.
Wow. Well,
or even more horrifically, they could be looking at the death penalty.
Wow, really? I don't even know this. Does Wyoming have the death penalty?
We do have the death penalty. We just have so few murders that, knock on wood, it's really been almost my lifetime since anyone was executed by the death penalty. So,
well, these are very, very high stakes. We talk sometimes about crimes that are criminal charges that are lesser, DUIs and things like that, and needing a lawyer for those things. And of course, people do. But I think it's important to note that if this could really happen to anyone without really knowing that they are facing this level of consequence, they're definitely going to need a lawyer. So in that case, how would they get in touch with you?
Sure. We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.